As somebody who has ADHD, is an ENTP personality type, and is a multi-potentialite, I think it is safe to say I am somebody who gets distracted really easily, deals a lot with shiny object syndrome, I get bored really easily, and therefore I am constantly jumping back and forth between doing too many things at once while simultaneously never finishing anything. Or at least I used to be, until I discovered this free productivity tool that has completely changed my life. And in this video, I am hoping I am going to show you how it can change yours too. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and if you are returning, then welcome back. So if you are somebody that deals with struggling to get motivated, struggling with procrastination, struggling to stay organized, feeling like you have a million different things to do at any given time, but you don't end up doing anything because, as they say, overwhelm leads to indecision, and indecision leads to inaction. We're going to dive into my computer, and first I'm going to show you my Trello board, my Trello workspace, give you an idea of how I personally use it, and then I'm going to show you how you can set up your own and how you can start using it for your own tasks, projects, etc. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are looking at, actually, funny enough, the card, and I'll get into what this means in a minute, the card for this video. The video that you're watching right now, I have a card in my Trello board telling me about what it is that I want to do with this video. So just to show you it really quick, it's got labels, a description, attachments, checklists, things like that. And I'm gonna dive deeper into all of this in a few minutes. But here we have the title, right? So this is the title of the video, How I Destroyed My Procrastination Using This Insane Free Tool. So the way I'm using this, just at a basic level, is to just keep myself organized, right? I have this video for this idea of this product that works really well for me. It's a way for me to take my initial idea and kind of start getting organized, brain dumping, writing down notes for me to remember like what it is that I want to talk about. And so here you can just see like my description, my initial idea, right? I wanted to do a 3-part Trello series for beginners to show you how I'm using it to build my $1 million business this upcoming year, 2024, which is a goal that I have for 2024. So if you didn't see that video yet, there's a whole video explaining kind of that being my goal for 2024 and how I'm going about doing it. But with that being said, I talked about like video 2, showing you how to set up your own Trello workspace, which I'm actually going to do in this video. So it's going to go from a 3-part to a 2-part. But this is just like my initial idea. I just jot down some notes of things that I want to talk about. So my general overview, bring all of my ideas finally into a single place. So one of the things that I was doing before I discovered Trello was I was using a combination of things that every time I thought was going to work for me just didn't. So I started using Google Docs and trying to keep myself organized in there, the Google Drive, using documents, using spreadsheets and stuff like that. But I still would end up with everything everywhere. Alex Hormozi, if you're familiar with him, CEO of acquisition.com, he talks about how he uses his Twitter as his place to take notes. So basically if he has a note or a thought, he just tweets it. And then if it does well, he takes that tweet, turns it into more content or dives deeper into it. I tried doing that for a little bit, still didn't really work for me. Dan Coe, he uses Notion, that's like his big thing. Tried doing that, I tried using his Power Planner. It worked for me for a little bit, but again, I still felt like I had there was things everywhere. I always had things in different places, which was really stressful. I would make me feel disorganized, and so therefore I would end up just not being productive. It was a big problem, still struggled to get into a flow, and then I found Trello and literally everything has changed. Just to give you a little behind the scenes of what's going on. So there are a couple like main sections you need to understand about Trello. By default, you start in what's called your workspace. This entire thing that we're seeing right here is my workspace. Okay, that's your overarching profile, is your workspace. Now, within your workspace, we have boards. And so these boards can represent different things depending on what it is that you want to do with Trello. That's one of the greatest things about it, is that just because I use it for task management and my content calendar and my projects and stuff like that, doesn't mean that's what you need to use it for. For all we know, you could just use it to keep track of training or your books that you want to read, or music production, like some of the things I have here. I use it to keep track of like my various passive income websites. I use it for like client projects. I use it as a fitness tracker, right? Let's say you have a specific client project or a specific project you're working on. You can create a board entirely just for that project, right? So it really depends on what it is that you want to do, or what you want to track, or what you want to be productive with, and how you view it, how you break that content down. Here we have my workspace, and then within my workspace we have multiple boards. First, the one that we were just looking at, we'll go into my content calendar. This is my content calendar board, which means that everything in here for me is specifically about content creation. These are basically my content ideas. Now, what we're looking at is we have lists and we have cards. Each black column that you see here, so we have big content and then in micro course outlines, that is a list, right? I have my Genius Idea Bank. That's a concept that I stole from Dan Coe from his, 7 Days to Genius challenge. Great challenge if you're interested in learning how to do better writing and stuff. I definitely suggest checking that out. thedanco.com, the 7-day free challenge. I will link for it below. But so this is my Genius Idea Bank list. Then I have my researching and outlining list. I have my in production list, and I have my repurposing list. Basically, the way Trello works is like the same way that you would read. It goes from left to right. So right now, the way I have this set up, I have my big content / micro course outlines, right? These are all of like my big ideas or overarching ideas of content that I want to make. Within each of these lists, you see these like little black boxes that as I hover them, they get like that blue border around them. Each of these is a card, and a card is where you put all of your information, your relevant information, attachments, notes, links, anything related to that specific idea, or in this case, content. So if I go up to here, the Zylercade Big Content Strategy, this is a card. And so if I left click that, it opens up the card. Now up here we have a card name, we have labels, and you can set labels up however you want to. For example, in this particular board, that's the other thing. All of your boards are individual of each other. They can be connected to each other if you want them to, but just because I have Big Content Strategy as a label in this board does not mean that it will show up in, say, my Task Manager board or my Fitness board. So if I come over here on the right-hand side, we have labels. I'll do show more labels and show more labels, so we can just see all of the labels that I've created for this particular board based on how I'm using this particular board. So for example, I have my content broken down into a few different things. I have stuff labeled as short content or long content. I have, is it content related to digital business skills, or is it content related to personal development? So those are like my two main overarching themes here. And then I have all these different tags, right? So I will tag it based on what is the main category of content for that card. And then I have like medium content lists. If it has to do with a lead magnet, or shorter content would be either a text quote or visual B-roll. So text quote would be like a tweet or a Facebook post, whereas visual B-roll might be Instagram Reel or TikTok or something like that. This is just how I have them set up in this particular board. And once we go look at another board, you'll see how that different. But just looking at some of the options over here on the card, I only use my board by myself, so I don't have any other members that I could add to. But if you were running like a business with a team, you had multiple teammates, you can assign members to a particular card. And then once they get assigned to that card, they will start getting notifications for that card. They'll see the history and the activity that goes on within that card. So I could technically, like here, we can see once I assign myself, it now shows members here. Let's say I had a videographer working for me, and this was a card about a video, then I could attach them to here, and then they would start to see information here, and then they would also be able to contribute information. Checklists, so this allows you to create checklists, which we can see down here. And literally you just, let's say this is going to be a video to-do list, right? Let's say I was gonna make some videos. I create that, and now we'd say create video 1, create video 2, right? Edit video 1, edit video 2, post video 1, post video 2. So any kind of checklist, you need to make sure you're tracking stuff to get done as you're going through. Now I'm gonna go ahead and delete that because I do have other checklists on here that I'm gonna dive into, but if we look at this card as a whole, what is this card? This card is my big content strategy. This is all of the content I have planned out over the next few months, or all the content that I want to create. I started by just breaking down basically what I call a brain dump. So when I thought about this, I was like, okay, what is my big content strategy and how do I need to outline that? Now, I did take this stuff you're seeing right here, doesn't really make sense because I actually took it from somewhere else, so I'm not gonna dive super into that. But basically, we have my two overarching themes of content, which is mindset, personal development, and then online business and digital skills. Here, I just broke those down, right? I was like, okay, what is everything that falls under this? Productivity, time management, right? This video falls under productivity, right? And I bet you it has a tag of productivity. If I look at it, let me open that up real quick. Where is it? Here, right here. So this is the card for this video. It's about digital business skills. It's a tag about productivity. It is long content, meaning it's a blog post and or YouTube video. And it's also personal development. Those are, again, just showing how I use those tags. But going back into that list, or that card, I'm sorry, I broke it down like that, and then broke down what all of the different subcategories of content I could create, either content that I know about, content that I'm interested in, content that interests me. So that is what all that is. And then same thing with the online business and digital skills. So all of this stuff. Once I did that brain dump, I then basically took that brain dump and said, okay, what is all of the things I need to do? And so first I did my planning and outlining, and I'll just uncheck these real quick so you can see them. And I started giving myself things to do, right? Make a list of all the micro courses that fall under mindset, personal development. Make a list of all possible micro courses I can make that fall under online business and digital skills. Once I created that list, checked it off, right? Created that list, checked it off. Used ChatGPT to make a list of all possible videos. Did that, check that off. Once I did all of that, I then had my lists. So now I said, okay, here's my micro content one, playlist, online passive income business explained. This is content that I have either already recorded or coming up in the works. If you're interested in learning any of this, by the way, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button so that you can get notified when all of these videos get released, because they are literally getting pumped out right now. So as I create these, I will start checking them off. Then, to take it even further, what I did was for each one of these playlists, I then created another card. For example, this one right here, playlist 2, getting started with Trello. This is currently the playlist that I'm working on right now. So on this playlist, these are all of the things that I want to make sure I hit when I'm creating this video and then the next video, which is going to be the more advanced one. We have playlist 2, right? I then took that and created another card. So now if we look here over my cards, right here I have playlist, productivity for solopreneurs, aka Trello for beginners. So now if we open up this, same process. We've got the 3-part Trello series. I've got my videos, like one that we're doing right now. Once I do this, I'll do my next one, which is the automations and productivity, right? For each of these videos, they get a card as well. And that's where we jump into this idea bank. Starting here at this list of this genius idea bank, this is where I create a card for every single content piece. Every video that I'm going to make has its own card, and then that card has all of the relevant information in it that is either the information I want to include or links to relevant URLs, relevant documents, and stuff like that, which is the next thing we're going to jump into, attachment. So if you noticed, we go back to my big content strategy. One of the great things about Trello is that everything can be connected. So you'll see here we have Trello attachments. This is where you can start to connect things that are related to each other. I'll actually go into the card for this video that we're making right now, right? How I destroyed my procrastination using this insane free productivity tool. What cards are connected to this? The playlist that we were just in, right? This card or this video falls under this playlist. If I was like, oh, like what are the other videos I need to make, or what's the other information I need to talk about? I could just click this and it will open up that other card, which is my playlist card, and I can see, what are the other videos that I'm making? I have a card for this video right here, which is the one that you're watching is this one, the next video, which is this one, and then the video after that, which is this one, although these two are actually being combined, so technically I need to remove this because they're all gonna be in this video. But point is, the attachments, being able to attach related information or related cards to each other to easily jump back and forth and keep yourself organized. Another great thing from an attachment perspective, which is I'm not gonna dive super deep into here because it's going to be more in the next video about the advanced power-ups and automation, but because we're talking about attachments, I do want to mention it. One of the things you can also do in Trello is add what's called power-ups. So power-ups are basically like third-party extensions that allow you to advance the capabilities of your Trello board. So by default, there's no Google Drive, there's no repeat. So what you can do is if you come up into these 3 dots up here, and you go over here to power-ups, you can see all of these different power-ups that help you be able to do additional things. Now, some of them are paid, but the ones that I use, again, are free. The 3 that I'm using currently is Calendar, Card Repeater, and Google Drive. So by just using the Google Drive one, it allows you, if you use Google Drive, which I love Google Drive, what I've been able to do is once I activated that power up and connected my Google Drive to my account, I can now attach things from my Google Drive here so that I have it attached if I need to reference it. So for example, when I'm making a video or I'm planning out content, I might, so this online income streams one behind the scenes, part 1, I'm in the process of this one as well. It's also going to be a blog post on my website, right? I start everything with a blog post. So that blog post I made in Google Docs. What I did was I came here, Google Drive, and I can just attach a file, or you can attach an entire folder. So what I did was once I made that document in my Google Drive, I attached it here. And so now if I want to go look into that Google document, that Google blog post, I can come in here and it just opens it right up for me to be able to write whatever it is I'm gonna write or go over whatever I need to go over, right? And then I can just close it out and it's good to go, and it's attached here. So everything that I need is in this card for me to be able to access to refer to later. Even other things that I maybe reference. For example, in this particular video that hasn't, like I said, hasn't been posted yet, there are 3 things or 3 other resources I mention in the blog post in the video. One of them being Design Joy, which I mentioned earlier, how I found Trello, and then Joe Popolis, his interview on Starter Story, and then also his training video about how he built his $1 million ebook company with ChatGPT. I can put those links here. Actually, we have another one. Oh, and the acquisition.com courses from Alex Rosie. Anything that I reference in my blog post or I'm going to reference in my video, I can also put the links to those things here so that I just have them readily available if I need to access them, if I need to reference them. That is just like big picture overview of how I use that from a content creation perspective or tracking my content creation. But then, get ready for this, we can take it even further. And again, I'm not gonna show you how to set up automations right now, so much as just going to show you how some of them work. That is going to be the next videos. With that being said, just to show you how I'm using some automations, I'm gonna take this video, one that I'm already using, and delete some of these. Right now, you can see I have this research and outline. This is step 1 of my process, right? And I have all of these steps I have to do anytime I'm researching and outlining a piece of content. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these checklists, and then in production, delete that. So right now there is no checklist on here, right? We're gonna pretend like I haven't done this yet. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it back over here. So right now, let's say you're just starting out on this project. I have it over in my Genius Idea Bank, and I'm like, hey, this is the next piece of content I wanna work on. This is what we have right now. So what I will do is I'll say, okay, it's time to start researching and outlining. So I will move it over. This is why I was talking about going from left. It's moving it down the line. So I'm gonna move it over here. I'm gonna let it sit for a second because there's automation happening in the background that I set up. Now, if you just notice, this little checkbox appeared that says 0/7. It just added a checklist for me. So if I open that up, we see, oh look, my research and outline checklist. This is an automation I have set up so that anytime a card gets moved or created into this researching and outlining list, it automatically adds that checklist for me. So now, all I have to do is start doing my work, right? So brain dump, that's my first step. So I would come up into my description, I would just left click, and I would start doing my brain dump. And I would just start putting all the information in here that I want to, click save, and now it's good, right? Okay, so now let's say I finish my brain dump. Other things that I think about or want to think about when I'm doing my brain dump. Are there any references that I can use, right? What's the big problem I'm trying to solve? I go through that. What's the big benefit of this problem being solved for somebody? I go through that. Once I click this final button, this is going to make research and outline completely done, and there's another automation set up in the background. So I've clicked that, it is marked it as complete. Now, not only is it going to add a new checklist, it also automatically moved it. Remember how we were over in research and outlining? Now, if you look over here, it's now under in production. Another automation that I have set up is that once this checklist is complete, it automatically moves the card from this list, researching and outlining, over to the in production list, and then also adds that checklist for that list. So now, again, just following these same steps, right? Once I've created my first draft, okay, did that. Have I defined my title? Yes, I did that. Have I created a thumbnail yet? Yes, I did that. Same process. I've done that. I'm gonna check that. That is done. Now, if we look, it's gonna go. So if we just saw it moved. It moved from in production to repurposing, and is now over in repurposing. I'll open it back up, scroll back down. Now we have a repurposing checklist. Same process. We're gonna see it. It just moved from repurposing to ready to publish. And so now, if we look over here, we have ready to publish, right? Now, again, same thing. Once I've done all of those, we'll go over here and we have promoting and sharing, right? So literally it's taking me step by step by step, all because I took the time to just very quickly set this up in the background to do all these automations, which are really not that hard. They take maybe 30 minutes to an hour to set up once you know what you want to do. But I hope you can see now. Let me know in the comments if you can see how amazing this is from a productivity standpoint. It literally takes the guesswork out of having to figure out where you are on any given thing. You just follow the checklist, follow the steps, and move along the process. And as you move along the process, It just keeps you organized, keeps you productive, and let me tell you, getting into flow has never been easier. And then just to quickly talk about the other power-ups real quick, the other power-up I have is my calendar power-up. So this is just basically allows you to create the visual of scheduling things out. Today's the 30th that I'm recording this. I have this piece of content scheduled for tomorrow, right? I can see that here. So let's say you want to plan all of this stuff out like I'm getting ready to do, right? I set that deadline for December 1st. This next video that I'm releasing after that one is my part 1 of my behind the scenes income stream. So that one is going to be on Tuesday. Save. And then this one is going to be on Friday. Where is it? Dates? Save. Now, if we go back and look at the calendar power up, I can now see like where my content is scheduled for. And so I just know, based on just looking at this visual, oh, okay, this is the next piece of content that's being released. This is the next thing I need to work through, and just go through those steps. So from a content creation perspective, super productive. But let's just go look at one of my other boards, right? I have my task manager, I have what I call the big brain bank, I have my fitness tracker, my client projects, just a couple other boards. If we go into my task manager, just to give you a different idea of how I use this, I have a few different things going on here. And this, once we get to the part where I show you how to set up yours, is basically the most basic form of the most common way people use Trello, which is basically as a to-do list, and starting from the left going to the right. Mine is slightly different. I have what's called a recurring tasks, which again, I have this automated. So every single day, today is November 30th at the time I'm recording this. So every single day, a new recurring task appears here for the day. And this is done because I made templates. So I have a template for Monday, and a template for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So each of these is a template, which is just a card that I created originally. And then all I did was there's a button that says turn into a template. And so all I did was create one for Monday and say, okay, what are the tasks that I need to do every Monday? And what are the attachments related to them, right? So I have my goals tracker in my Google Drive. I have that attached here. I have my weekly progress tracker, and then I have what I call my health, wealth, and happiness, or health, wealth, love, and happiness tasks. So my Monday wealth tasks, these are work on my next content piece, work on SoloMain, which is my consulting agency, AI Income Academy, which is my online course that I'm building right now, a book that I'm writing, work on client projects, and then my engagement tasks for like social media stuff, my health tasks, my love tasks, right? So health is like drink water, take fiber, go to the gym, do whatever workout it is for that day. So I have my workout scheduled in here. And then my love is like your self-love. So I do my mindset journal, self-reflection, meditation, read for at least 30 minutes, right? Every day, this is just my Monday tasks, right? And so same thing, as I start to check these off, so I'll just go through. I actually haven't been on here today to check all these off, but I'm gonna go ahead and just check all these off so that you can see. So I've marked all of those. So now I've marked all of them as done, and now it moved over to done, right? So with that being said, I have my to-do list, I have my doing, and I have my done. My to-do list, the same thing as a content creation. If I have something, I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Today I need to call Jess about Facebook ads. I could say today I need to call Jess about Facebook ads, and I need to set today as the due date, right? Now I can move that up, say, oh, that's priority, right? And I can set different due dates for these if I want to, so then you can technically go sort by due date, right? And it'll put like your most important stuff to the top. Now I can be like, okay, I'm getting ready to call Jess right now. So as I'm getting ready to call her, I will move it over to doing. And then once I'm done doing it, I can either check it off here and it will mark it as complete and move it over, or I could just technically move it over to done. So let's just say I did already talk to Jess today, so I click done, and then it will move over. Typically, if I put a card in that, I'd also put some notes in here just so I can remember what it is that we have to talk about, why it is that I have to call her, right? If there's any documents that I need to look at, right, I might attach those here. For example, just looking at like my other ones over here, I need to create my phase 1 videos, right? I have that attached to my Project AI Income Academy, so I know these phase 1 videos are related to this project that I have going on over here. It's just a matter of putting all of your to-do lists getting yourself organized. And again, we talked about the labels earlier. You can see how some of these labels are different. The labels over on the other one were like tags and content categories. Whereas if we look at my labels in this board, I actually have them separated by what project is this related to? What is the value of it? So I actually got this by a YouTuber. I can't remember her name at the moment, but this is something she does with hers. She marks like the value of the task, the higher value of the task. Those are the things that she prioritizes and leaves like the lower end tasks for her staff, or in my case, which I don't have staff, just like back burner, like I don't need to necessarily worry about right now, but if I have the time, I can get to it. And then what goals do I have? So if we go to my big brain bank, I have like my short-term goals, my long-term goals over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I also keep track of what tasks I have in here, what goals are they helping me get towards, right? Or if it's like client work, I could put that too. This is basically Trello in a nutshell. It is absolutely game-changing. It is super helpful, keeps me super organized, keeps me super productive, and literally it releases so much stress about having to try to stay organized and remember what you have to do at any given time, because it is all just here. Hopefully that wasn't too long, kind of me showing you basically how I use mine. And now, with that being said, we are going to jump into how you can get yours set up. When you sign up, first thing you need to know is, I'm actually just going to open up an incognito tab so you can see what it looks like when you log in. So it's Trello.com. Like I said, it's free. You put your email in. Once you log in, you sign up, log in, you have to confirm your email address, whatever. This is what you're gonna see. Very different looking at this board compared to this board, which is my big brain bank, which is basically like all of my long-term goals, my big projects, stuff like that. This is what you're going to start with. And you actually won't even start with a board. You'll technically start here. Blank, you'll just create a new board, or up here, this little blue button, you can also create a new board. You're gonna wanna give it a title, whether it's a project, right? Maybe you've just got one specific project you're working on, or if you just create a general task manager like I have for a to-do list, right? You could call it to-do list. Which workspace do you want it to be in? So at the start, you'll only have one workspace. I currently have 3 because I have my one is like my personal one, and I have one for my digital consulting agency and for my business builder programs. And then visibility, it's just going to ask you, who do you want to be able to see this? So if you're not gonna be inviting anybody else to work with you in your workspace, then I guess you could just leave that here. I always set mine to private, just because by the off chance I do eventually have to invite somebody to my workspace someday, I don't want them necessarily being able to see all my boards. I only want them to see ones that I want them to see, right? So with that being said, you can either create a blank one or you can start with a template. Now, the example one that I made, I just did blank, but you could technically click start with a template and it gives you some ideas of, based on the name, like what it's for. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest, I've never used the templates, so I cannot speak on them. But with that being said, if you know that you want to use yours for project management, then maybe you want to like click the project management one. If you don't really know, or you just want to have the ability to create it from scratch like I did, then I suggest just going with the blank board. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to this example board, and here we are creating a board from scratch. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create your lists. Typically, the easiest way I think about it is going from left to right. And what phases of a project or what phases of your content do you need? By default, we'll add a list right here by just left clicking at the top, and I would just start with my to-do list, right? Pretty simple. So we've got a to-do list, you press enter, we've got a doing or active list, right? And then we have our done list. So once you've got your list, just exit that for now, and here we now have 3 lists. And you can also technically put emojis in here if you want to. There's a keyboard shortcut for it on Windows. I don't remember what it is, but I also have this little extension on Chrome. So if you have Chrome, if you want to get an extension, I could say to do, or the check mark, that could technically be like represent done. So if I put that in there, whatever, be fancy. Once you have these set up, next thing you're going to do is just start adding your cards. So like you said, your cards are going to be your individual tasks or maybe your overarching tasks. So let's say I want to build an online business. Let's just use that as a generic example. So build an online business. So we're going to start there. So we're going to build an online business. So I'm going to open that up, and now first thing I'm going to start to do is brainstorm, right? So what goes into building an online business? Or actually, we'll even use a checklist. So I'll start with a checklist. I'll say to do. So what goes into building an online business? All right, we have to plan and outline our business idea. We probably have to do some market research. do market research. We probably have to build a website, create a product, set up social media platforms, generic stuff, right? So now I can do a couple different things. And really, the way you work, the way your flow goes is gonna be completely up to you. It's gonna be unique to each person. Maybe you wanna add some labels, and by default, this is what your labels look like. This green one, you say like marketing. So maybe we could assign, that's gonna be a marketing task. This is going to be a admin task, and we can have orange being like social media task. And then here we'll do this one being like the big business overview. Right, so we'll label this one as the big business overview, right, because it's the overarching idea. And then we'll also create one for individual tasks. So right now, plan and outline your business idea, right? Planning and outlining. And then I can start a bulleted list and say, use ChatGPT to research business ideas based on my interests. Create a business brief, and I can research available domain names for website based on business name. And then we can like highlight that, maybe make it a heading if we want to, put a divider, and here's some more info. And then we're gonna click save. So now I can just start brain dumping stuff in there, right? So now we have like our overarching idea, our overarching goal. Now I can take each of these and turn each of these into their own task. And there's a couple ways to do that. Technically, you could click this little button and click convert to card, and it will create an entirely new card based on that task. Click that, and now over here we see we now have plan and outline our business ideas. And then we can go into this, add more information, add more checklists. So what is it related to, right? It's related to that build an online business, and so now that's attached. And if I go back into that card, I can now do the same thing, right? Attachment, I can do plan and outline. Now I can see that's a task in there. The only issue I have with using that convert to card is that it removes it from your to-do list. So instead of doing that, if I want to keep it in my checklist, I would actually just come in here and highlight all, Control-C or copy, and then just come over here and add a new card. And I would do that. Now, if you're just using this as a way to get all of your ideas outlined, but then you don't mind removing them from your checklist because you're going to create your own separate card for it, then doing that convert to card thing totally works out for you, right? It's just this kind of iterative process. So let's say you did want to do that, and so let's say we turn all of these tasks into their own card because we've outlined them, we know everything we need to do, great. Now we can technically say, okay, this part is done, or so instead of planning an online business, we'd say plan an online business, and we could set the date as today, save, and then mark as done, because now everything we needed to outline has now been outlined over here. Technically, we should have had it over here doing while we were doing it, and then we move it to done. Now, all of these are the next tasks that we have. Again, just go back in here. These are gonna be all of those individual tasks, right? We'll mark that as an individual task. We'll mark this one as an individual task. And then we can even set due dates for them. So let's say I wanna have this done by Saturday. I wanna have this done by Monday. Right? And so same thing, now you can start to give yourself due dates, timelines, deliverables, so you can keep track of not only your progress that you're making, but also by giving yourself due dates, you're actually far more likely to complete it, because as they say, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done. So give yourself due dates, and now you have an order of operations you can go with. Our first step, plan and outline our business idea. So now I'm gonna move that over to doing. I'm gonna open it up, and I'm going to start doing that process, right? I'm gonna put in my brain dump, my description. I'll start to create checklists based on what I need to do for those. I'll add attachments, I'll add dates, and then just some other things that you can add in. If you wanted to add a cover, you could do that. I don't usually use these except for like major overarching playlists and stuff like that, or overarching like strategies. For individual cards or individual projects, I don't really, but you know, it's up to you. But if you add a picture, you can now see it adds a picture like that. So if I wanted to do that for all of these, we can add covers, and you can either use the covers that they have in here, or you can also upload your own photo. So now we've got these different cards, these different covers, just to help us like get a better visual depiction of what it is that we want to do. So at this point, you've got a pretty basic setup, right? You've got your to-do list, As you start doing them, you'll move it over to doing. Once you've completed it, marked it complete, you move it over to done, and now you're good. But let's say you get down to create a product and you're like, actually, I don't want to create a product, or I don't want to do market research. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to jump to everything else. Technically, we could just create another list and maybe call it either archived or on the shelf, right? We're going to shelf it for later, meaning we're not necessarily getting rid of it, but we just don't care about it right now. So I actually could just move that over to on the shelf, and now we know it's still there, still in the background. Maybe we'll get to it later, but right now we want to focus on these things over here. Now you don't have to do that, but I know for me, from an organization perspective, when I see a lot of things on my to-do list, it can still feel overwhelming. So if there are things on there that I'm like, I really just don't care about that right now, I will just move it off to the side, like over on the shelf. So it's just not in my immediate visual view. So that is basically the easiest setup for you to begin using Trello. And honestly, before or as I was beginning to use Trello, like you, I was watching YouTube videos to learn about it. And I remember watching YouTube videos, and the people that I was watching would say, you just gotta get in there and do it yourself. It's hard to really explain it and for you to grasp how to use it and whatever until you just get in there and play with it. And it would annoy me that they would say that, because I'd be like, stop saying that, just teach me how to do it. But then I actually got in here and started messing around with it, and it makes me angry because it is 100% true. I can show you the basics of this, but until you actually get in here and just start playing with it, it's hard to know how you're going to use it until you actually start using it. Because I originally, when I first started, I literally started with what I'm showing you right now, a to-do, a doing, and done. And then as I started putting in my information into the different cards, I was like, wait a second, this doesn't work for me. I need this, or what do I do with that? Or what if I have ideas that I have, or my recurring tasks? So as I learned about automations and power-ups and stuff like that, I was like, why am I gonna create the same card every day if I'm gonna be doing these same tasks every day, etc., etc. So really, the biggest tip I can give you is to just get in here and start just adding things, and then just evolve as you go. It is really the best way to do it, because until you start to play with it and understand it, you won't understand how you can use it for yourself until you try to use it for one thing and then realize you can do it a different way. And so I really just have to urge, you just gotta get in here and play with it. I hope you can see how incredibly powerful this tool is. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and you are not going to want to miss the next video where, like I said, I'm going to dive deep into setting up power-ups and automations so that you can literally just fly through any to-do list that you could possibly need to do and punch procrastination in the face. With that being said, thank you for watching. You can find more helpful resources, tips, tricks for online business, learning digital skills at my website, zylarcade.com. Also, valuable resources or links to everything I've mentioned in the description below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.